Hello guys, due to popular demand, we are back with more Amorous, and I'm not sure which save I should do. Slot 2, I'm assuming. Oh boy, here we go. Where did the sound? Oh, there's the sound. Okay, off to a lovely start. And I'm rendering a video right now, so that's a good idea, right? Render a video while I'm busy playing a game. Yeah, that's totally gonna work. My CPU has to handle 3 things at once. Definitely gonna work well. Oh hey, you can press the shift button to do that now. No, it doesn't work. Oh, there we go, it does. Okay, so we're gonna call Seth. We're gonna continue this. Our next few meetings were sadly short and very business oriented. Seth wouldn't let me come over until he had, in his words, cleansed the apartment from ceiling to floor at least twice. I finally updated to v4.1. Apparently they fixed a lot of the grammar things, but I'm not going to go back and reread them, of course. Despite my insistence that not everything needed to be perfect, there was no swaying him. That said, he kept to his promise and called me often, when we weren't at coffee talking about another piece he had written. Finally, the day arrived. Seth greeted me at the coffee shop with a smile that just wouldn't quit. Does that kangaroo shirt say Australian in the picture? I just noticed that, wow. Alright, I believe my domicile is once again right enough with the world to accept guests. I do not want to thank you for your patience. I wanted everything to be absolutely perfect. Seth, you didn't have to go overboard with this. I'm not going to judge you on the cleanliness of your apartment. I mean, you've been to my house. Need I say more? They didn't fix the grammar, apparently. Can't I just go a little overboard? I mean, you're helping me with my writing. I've been more prolific recently than I've been in years. They said they fixed the grammar. I like to think that I had something to do with that. Still, I'm more than happy to come over. Should I bring anything? Oh yeah, bring protection. I'll leave that completely up to you. I should have everything covered. But I'm certainly not adverse to your personal touch. Alright then, I'll give it some thought. Were we going over another story today? Your bag doesn't seem to be bulging with notebooks as per usual. No, not today. I've been a little too busy doing some other last-minute things before tonight. I wanted to make sure that everything was just right, and, well, I forgot to write anything recently. Whew! I was hoping to see what you had come up with next. Okay, this is too slow. I particularly liked that last bit of short fiction you did. Thanks! I was trying something new with the narration approach, and glad to hear you liked it. But I've also been talking your ear off about writing lately. How are things with you? Oh? Well, great! I've been hearing back from a few places about a job, trying to stay active and positive. Aside from that, not much else. My day-to-day is fairly mundane. Better a comfortable, humdrum life than to live the ancient Chinese curse, as it were. I'll get by. Kobe's been asking if you're going to stop by again. He seems to like you quite a bit. I like him too, even when he gets a little flirty. I can see why he's a big part of your life. There's been one thing you haven't talked about. Did Nick's agent ever get back in touch with you? Not yet. These things do take time, and I know there's no way to rush it. It's just that the waiting is agony. I'll do my best to distract you from that as much as possible tonight, then. Should I come in my suit and tie? Black tie is completely optional, though matching you in a suit is a very pleasing image. You should see me out of one. If you think I'd look good in one, you should see me out of one. My eyebrow waggle must have been too much for him as he snickered into his paw. Does that line usually work on people? The law of averages suggests that it will eventually. I just have to keep trying. I must say, you are certainly overselling the date here. I feel as though I'm going to be completely underprepared for what you have in store. I wouldn't say completely, but I do hope to inspire some awe. Is there anything I should bring, anything I should do to prepare myself for this experiment? Being that this is the first real date we've had, at least in my humble opinion, I've gone to great lengths to make it self-sufficient. All I require is your attendance at 6-ish at my place. Boy, when you read this out, does it show how poor the grammar is at times. Which, may I point out, you still haven't told me the address or location of. Oh, right. I suppose I got a little ahead of myself there. He fished through his bag for a moment and produced a slip of paper, quickly scribbling down his information. Now, do not follow in my footsteps and throw this in the wash. If you're late, I'll call to check in, so keep the phone on. Yes, sir. If we don't have any writing to critique then, did you want to grab some lunch or something? No dating until tonight. I don't want to spoil it. It's just lunch. We can chat about non-romantic things like the weather or the current state of sports ball. Is that made up sport? That must be. Besides, it's not like your appetite. You can't have too much dating, then not want it anymore. At least, hope you can. I know I'm being a little silly, but you've done so much for me, intentionally or not. I want our first serious date to be perfect. Perfect. Oh, did I just break the game? Oh, there we go. Alright, just don't get your expectations too high. We're both only just people, after all. He smiled at me, taking my hand in his for a moment. It was nice, just to be together in one place without obligations. That was what worried me most about tonight. What he might be expecting. I never considered how dangerous it might be dating a guy who likely got most of his ideas from reading romance novels. I promise, it's all well in hand and a comfortable level of hope. He glanced up at the clock over the counter, and his smile shifted suddenly to a look of concern. Is that the time? Sorry, that bastard bird. I need to run. Just the last few things I needed to finish before our date. Now, you've got the time and address? I nodded, patting the pocket where I had stowed both. Good, now expect you there promptly. I've got plans that are very time-specific, pointless comma that shouldn't be there. I'll be at your door at 6 on the dot, probably with bells on. Stick with the suit, unless you're only wearing the bells. He got a bit of a blush out of me, both from his comment and the soft peck on the cheek he gave me before he stood up and placed a 10 on the table. Coffee's on me today. I'll see you tonight. I sipped slowly at my coffee, nursing it and the growing knot I felt in my belly. My whole relationship with Seth so far had been one seemingly strange encounter after another. I could only imagine what he had planned for tonight. Still, I wasn't about to pass up the chance to find out. Not when it meant finding out more about this adorably eccentric feline. Of course, without our critique session, most of my afternoon was empty. Kobe was out with some friends, and I had the house to myself. I could only putter around for so long before I found myself staring at the closet and wondering what I should wear. Look for something else to wear. I noticed my suit hanging in the corner of the closet and briefly considered it. That is, until I remembered the last time I wore and how poorly it fit. The last time I wore? You mean the last time you wore it? Okay. I couldn't believe I'd kept it. Still, I had plenty of other choices remaining. And grabbed something I would be more comfortable in. Oh, it says Australia on his shirt. Okay. After I got myself cleaned up, dressed, and looking my best, my thoughts drifted back to the date. Seth said I didn't have to bring anything, but maybe I should anyway. I'll bring flowers. What date wouldn't be improved with a nice bouquet of flowers? Something to brighten up his home and show him just how much I appreciated what he was doing. There was a little flower cart just off the street nearby. I could swing by on my way to his apartment. Once I got myself together and made my decision, I looked down at the clock. It was getting awfully close to 6 and I hadn't left yet. I grabbed my keys, locked the house, and got into my car. Well, so much for 6 on the dot. I meant to get flowers. I said I was gonna get flowers. What is with this game? What's the point of these dumb choices? So I picked up wine, so many choices. Wow, unbelievable. Suggested a desert wine to finish off the date. I thanked him, grabbed a bottle of a light sweet wine, and rushed off to the register. And I drank the whole bottle in the car and got freaking pissed drunk and accidentally ran over a little kid who was trying to cross the street. I made my way through the lobby and up the well-appointed elevators. It appeared that Seth hadn't been kidding about being a trust fund kid. The apartment building itself was ritzier than my home. Once I had gotten to his door, after checking the note twice, I knocked. Just a minute. I heard some scrambling, a few muttered expletives, and finally a sound of metal pens colliding with wooden cupboards. I was about to express my concern when Seth opened the door. Should that say metal pens? Is he wearing metal pants? Oh, there he is. That bastard bird! Good of you to make it. I seem to recall something about saying you should be prompt. It was for a good cause, I promise. We'll see how true that statement is. Well, what do you think of the place? Once inside, it was clear that Seth wasn't kidding about his apartment. Despite the rather posh interior of the building, his own apartment was very sparsely furnished. Aside from a few pictures and a bric-a-brac, whatever that is, the living room held only a couch, coffee table, and TV on a stand. Well, at least they got that right. It's nice, simple, clean. Seth smiled at me before setting down with a steaming pot on the small dining room table. Devoid of any sense that a person actually lives here? Everyone's got their own tastes. Speaking of which, where did you learn how to cook? It smells delicious. Thanks. I cannot take all the credit, however. Most of it goes to the cooking channel and the cookbook I snagged from the library. Of course, I wasn't sure what you might like to eat, so I may have gone a little overboard in terms of the available dishes. That's alright. No, I gotta do this right. Oh, that's alright. It's why they invented resealable containers and microwaves. He chuckled and took my hand, leading me to the spread laid out on the table. Again, he wasn't kidding. There were half a dozen dishes crammed into the small space. Rolls were neatly nestled in a basket, and 3 different types of spreads, from savory to sweet, laid out on the kitchen counter. You made all this? For just the 2 of us? Turns out, being rather new to cooking, I wasn't aware of portion size. I mean, I thought it was quite a bit of food when I got the ingredients. But I guess I assumed it would condense or reduce. Whatever it is that chefs do to food, I'm gonna be back in just a moment. Be sure to save room for dessert. Wait, did this continue while I was busy? I baked 3 dozen cookies. What the fuck? 3 dozen? Jeez. My eyes went wide as Seth smiled awkwardly at me. Not that I'm classically trained chef myself, but I couldn't even finish the thought before I burst out laughing. 3 dozen cookies, jeez. I don't think I could even eat half of that. And I eat freaking full pizzas by myself. Next time, you should pay closer attention to the recipe. It'll probably save you some money on your grocery bills. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, that reminds me. I stood up and walked over to the front door, picking up the bag with the wine that I had left there. Seth didn't have a cooler or bucket, so I made do with a few scoops of ice and a narrow, deep mixing bowl. I set the wine gently on the kitchen counter near the table. A fancy date deserves a fancy drink. I picked up some wine on my way. I didn't know what you were making, but clearly it wouldn't have mattered. He glanced over the label and smiled. It's probably too nice of a wine to drink with cookies, but the thought is appreciated all the same. That said, you've got remarkable taste in wines. No matter what you pick in this game, it doesn't matter. Like, it always works out. Like, this is the world's easiest dating sim. I do? Okay, of course I do. Of course I do. Just because we met in a nightclub doesn't mean I don't enjoy more refined drinks. I didn't mean to offend. You've got an excellent palate. You've got an excellent Pilates for wine, then. Maybe you should consider going for a job as a sommelier. I swear, if that word's actually spelled right, and palate is spelled wrong? What? I'm not sure I'm ready to pursue this as a vocation. At least not yet. I'm surprised that doesn't say vacation. Well, we'll see how well it pairs with the cookies once they are done cooling. That said, we should eat before too much of the food gets cold. The 2 of us dug in, filling up our plates and heading back to the coffee table to eat. It was exciting and relaxing, a host of emotions all at the same time. It was easy to forget my anxieties and just lose myself in the moment. Seth was equally chatty, discussing his many attempts to inspire himself, the seemingly crazy lengths that he'd gone to the hopes of broadening his horizons. I'm embarrassed to say, I actually drank half the bottle. The revolting taste still haunts me even after 12 full cups of mouthwash and a handful of mints. I'm still unable to go anywhere near fresh seafood. Fresh seafood. Hello, Ernie for the Coyote here. Soon enough, dinner was set aside, along with enough leftovers to feed an ermine. He insisted I took some homey, not only because he didn't too heavy this backy, but he wanted to Hank go by again. Okay, I'm not doing Run for the Coyote for the rest. We sat on the couch, relaxing and nibbling on a cookie every now and again. It was then that I noticed a large curtain across from us, closed, but already a ruddy hue from the sunset. Seth smiled as he noticed my interest, getting up and pulling gently on the cord. The wispy curtains parted, and in a moment, I saw the whole city spread out before me. Windows glistened in golds and reds, and I could even see my own house far in the distance, just above the horizon. Seth stepped next to me, touching a paw gently to the glass. It's really why I picked this place to move after college. The rent was absurd, and the building was, to me, gaudy and pretentious, but when I was in this empty room, I could make it to the regular viewing and convince the realtor to give me one later that day. I was tired, grumpy from seeing my grades on my final. Once I looked out that window, though, I saw the harvest moon hanging there, almost transparent in the twilight. The clouds were a deep purple, and a few flecks of red splattered across them like blood from a child's broken neck. That cinched the deal. I signed the lease that second. This view was something I'd been looking for, maybe a piece in a bigger puzzle. I found it, though, and it's been a source of comfort, even in the worst of it. Hearing how much it meant, what kind of an impact it had on him, all I could think of how empty this place would be if he left. When he left. My silence drew a curious look from him. Gently he touched my shoulder, and I snapped back to the moment. What's wrong? You weren't enjoying the view? I'm going to be back in just a moment again. I have returned, guys, and we're gonna power through this. We're gonna do this. It's not the view. Bum bum bum. It's not the view. Have you thought about what will happen? You could get a publishing contract. You could see your name in print, but think about how much you'd have to travel. How little you'd actually be around. I know, I've been trying to forget about it. It's likely one of the reasons I wound up cooking for 2,000 instead of 2. I'm scared, that bastard bird. I don't want to go through this again. What do you mean again? This isn't your first book? He shook his head and smiled, even though he's clearly not smiling. I need to show you something. Now he's smiling. I'll be right back. He stepped away, leaving me there in the fading sunlight, gazing out over the sea of buildings. I wanted us to stay in that moment, stay right here until there was nothing else. It was selfish, maybe even petty, but I wanted it more than anything else right then. He stepped out of the bedroom and back to my side. Touching my shoulder, he drew my attention to what was in his paw. It was a sun-bleached, tattered notebook, one I'd never seen before. He held it out to me. Go ahead, read it. It's embarrassing, but it's something I need to share. Confused, I opened it. Mostly it was pages of rough doodles, a few snippets of bad poetry, and some notes on classes. The few dates I saw placed it, likely in his high school years. However, one thing stood out. It was a short, clumsy, but innocent story of a young man who admired another from afar. In awkwardly beautiful prose, it spoke of the distance, the ache and the loathing that he could not approach the person he desired. So it's basically Brokeback Mountain? I think. I haven't actually seen that movie. It ended on a silly, sappy note, the focus of his affections finding the notebook and falling equally in love. A short note followed, though the name of its intended reader was scratched out in black ink. It read, "I can't say this with my voice, so I use my words. I love you." I closed the notebook and looked up at Seth. It was my first story. He was the first person to inspire me enough to try to write. Down the road, I may remember it as some fleeting high school crush, but the wound still aches sometime. Not sometimes, sometime. You never showed it to him? No, I did. What little confidence I had propelled my hand forward while we were in the library. He read it, page after page, in complete silence. When he was done and looked back into my expectant eyes, he said nothing. He simply laid the notebook on the table in front of me, got out of his chair, and left the room. I didn't see him the next day, or the day after. When I finally asked someone, they told me his parents had moved and he'd gone with them. Oh snap, this sounds like one of my friends. Oh boy. Oh boy. The drama, Seth. For 2 years I assumed it was me, that I was the reason he left. Part of me still thinks that, and all of me thought I would never recover. The folly of youth and the power of infatuation. Maybe you were more right than you thought. Maybe my experience would be better spent on romance novels. I wanted to say something, anything to turn the conversation away from this topic. I opened my mouth to speak, but halted when I saw Seth's lips spread into a smile. That typo. Whoa, does this just continue even when I don't continue it? Okay, what I want to say is, what the fuck? What I want to say, what I'm saying as awkwardly as I did in that notebook, is that I care about you. Intentionally or not, you drew me back out of that haze of loss and regret. You were enough to draw a whole book out of me. You're the reason I'm here, that I even got here in the first place. I'm not gonna let you go, not like I did last time I had this chance. He stepped forward and slid his paws into my hands, pressing himself close as he kissed my cheek softly. Why are his paws and mine are hands? So let's forget about it for the moment. Let's just enjoy this for a few more minutes before your practicality. Oh, I thought it was supposed to be your. Okay. Oh, I'm so out of it right now. Practicality. And my anxiety bring it back up. I thought it was supposed to be your practically. But it's your practicality. Okay. I derped there. It's not going away. Alright. Wow, the sensitivity is so high on my mouse right now. Alright, for you I can try. I can't swear I won't think about it, but I'll try to stay here. That's all I need right now. It's been too perfect of an evening to let it go so soon. Besides, I seem to remember our celebrations requiring more than just dinner. I promised dancing too. Releasing my hand for the moment, his paw tapped up a button just below the TV stand. A moment or two later, after a hiss and a whir, a soft, simple melody began to play over hidden speakers. His paw slid back into my hand and squeezed softly, as he drew close to me and began to sway with a slow, measured time. It's not the same music as the club, but at least we can talk over this. I squeezed his... Oh, man. I squeezed his paws back softly, drawing him close as the two of us began to glide across the soft carpeted floor. His eyes remained locked on mine, glimmering in the dimming sunlight as all but the dance floor fuck me. Why do I keep fucking up? As all but the dance faded from my mind. Ugh. It didn't make it any easier. Holding him close to me, feeling his silken fur against my skin. I didn't want to lose this either, but could I, in good conscience, be so selfish? Seth lowered his head, pressing his cheek against my chest and purring softly, almost humming with the music. I couldn't help but smile in return. I wasn't quite sure when the music stopped. Our bodies still pressed close, but something stirred us enough from the embrace. I glanced at the clock and sighed softly. Please don't leave. I don't want to. I hope you know that by now. But dinner's over. It's nearly dark. Then stay here for the night. Stay with me. You're beautiful, that bastard bird. Intoxicating and amazing and 100 other words I know but just falls short on my tongue. It's not fair to use your writerly wiles on me, you know. You know what I say? In this moment, in this perfect moment, I say fuck what's fair. I say I want you, that bastard bird. Do you want me to? The words caught in my throat, my body tensing as he lifted his lips upward, and pressed them firmly against my own. His paws released my hands, wrapping around my waist and folding one over the other at the small of my back. It had been too long since I felt this, the aching need of another, the passionate embrace. My own hands came at rest. It's supposed to be two, but the O and the T are backwards. On his shoulders, cupping them and pulling his body even tighter against my own. A gasp escaped his lips, swallowed eagerly by my tongue before it could escape. Seth's body trembled against me, his paws drifting smoothly down along the curves of my backside. His body twitched at the sensations as my once comfortable clothes grew tight and confining. Okay, this might be where I have to start censoring. Heat rolled off us in waves, fueled by our needs and desires. His paws held me lewdly, his tongue bathing my own in the sweetness of sugar and spice. I drew my hands beneath his shirt, lifting it upwards to the heavens. No, it's not what it says, as you can clearly read. His own paws drew upward, tracing along my waistband, gently undoing the fasteners as they came across. The feel of his fur, once my arousal was exposed, sent a shiver down my spine. Our lips finally parted, the cool rush of air pouring into our starving lungs. I looked down, seeing his paws slip over my sensitive flesh and squeezing softly. I moaned, the heat burning within me as my own hand slid beneath the waistband of his shorts. And then everything else happened. Oh geez. Oh. Wait, what is my character? I thought my character is a bird. What? Oh, the sounds. Okay. I dreamed vividly that night. These sounds are really awkward. Of Seth beneath me, of the warmth and softness of his fur. I saw him standing, smiling, his eyes perched on his muzzle and notebook in hand. I saw him walk away from me, my hand outstretched, as with each step he grew dimmer, fuzzier, until I could no longer see him. I remember sobbing softly, and then a light. Okay, good, it stopped. I woke up in his bed, tucked gently arounded me, and to the sounded of a shower in the distance. The sunlight streamed in through the windows, making me blink in reflex until my eyes could adjust. The dream still lingered in my mind, my eyes watering. I got out of bed, making my way into the living room. Good morning. I admit, it was an orthodox way to keep you here for the night, but I have no regrets. I hope you don't either. I know what only one's gonna be. Only one. That we weren't able to continue doing what we did last night through this morning. Oh, okay, that's not what I was thinking. Some of us are only mere mortals, you know. I laughed for a moment, stopping only as I watched Seth's expression fall. His gaze lingered at something beyond my shoulder, and as I turned to look, I also drew quiet. The tiny white box atop his end table near the door gave off a steady red blink at regular intervals. It meant he had a message, and the both of us knew what that could portend. I saw the caller ID this morning. It was from Donna, Nick's agent. Shouldn't you listen to it? I mean, you've come so far, and... I choked on the sentence, swallowing the words I didn't want to hear. I don't know if I can. It can only mean change and upheaval. I don't know if I'm ready for that particular part of my life. Urge him on. I'm gonna urge him on. Here we go. Life's always gonna be scary and full of risk. I took one getting to know you, spending time with you, and making love to you last night. Still, we can't move on if we aren't able to take risks. It's not like continuing to hide from it will change the outcome. It's not a Schrödinger band answering machine. He stood over the machine for a long moment, staring down at the pulsing light. I stood walking behind him and placing my hand on his shoulders. He smiled back at me for a moment before his finger touched the button. Hi there, Seth. This is Donna from Independence Literacy Agent. Nick had passed on a section of your work to me. I was calling to discuss it with you. We both held our breath, my throat dry as I waited what seemed to be an eternity for the woman's voice to continue. It's surprisingly good, particularly for an early draft. Don't get me wrong, it needs an editor, but I think that's something we can do for you. Please come by the office sometime today before 1. Before 1. Bleh. I'll let my receptionist know to expect you. If you can't make it, call me back and we'll reschedule. We did it! We actually did it! No, you did it. You're the writer. Seth turned to face me, smile still prominent on his face. No, I mean we. You're in this too, remember? I chuckled to myself and glanced over at the clock. It was just a little past 11. Well then, I guess this half of we should get in the shower. No good showing up to our new agency, naked and disheveled. That's the spirit. Unfortunately, I think my clothes have seen better days at this point. I'm sure we can find you something to get by. I'm afraid I don't have anything formal myself. The feeling of warm water eased my aching muscles. It did little to assuage the knot in my stomach, though. My current unemployed position might make this easy at the start, but I couldn't rely on Seth alone. Where would we live? What could I be doing? I took a deep breath and let these thoughts wash away down the drain. There'd be a time for specifics later. For now, I was going to help Seth achieve his dream. That was much enough. That much was enough for now. Just skip that one. Ugh. For some reason. I felt his paw seek out my hand, twining his fingers through my own. Oh, Jesus, skipping them now. Once we walk through that door, everything around us might change. But I promise this right here won't. My hand clutched his tightly. I know, because I refuse to lose you either. Then all that's left is to open that door. I chuckled as Seth's ear flattened against his head. With my free hand, I turned the knob and pulled the door open wide. That's what she said. We didn't talk much on the way there, letting the warm air rush over us and the feeling of our hands together speaking for us. It felt like I had come far in such a short time, and while I wasn't sure what the future might hold, I knew I'd have something there regardless. Okay, so it just ends there. Cliffhanger. Thank you for watching my playthrough of this game. There's still so much more to go. So much more. I have to redo freaking Lizard Dude, and he's got the longest story of all. What was the other one? There was... Okay, so it was Lizard Dude, Tiger Dude, or Lion Dude, or whatever. And this chick, Sky, here. I'm not a big fan of those kind of piercings. Those are, they kind of scare me a bit. You know, those are really wide ones. You know, they're pretty cray-cray, you know. There is a lot of credits here. Holy moly. Mitzi's is credited for a lot of stuff there. Huh. Oh my god, is it just looping? Yeah, it's looping. Looping like Lupin right there. Yeah, left click here. Okay.